Welcome to The Explainer. You know, sometimes in politics, the biggest moves are the ones you barely notice. Today, we're digging into an analysis that says a recent, pretty routine-sounding White House announcement isn't what it seems. In fact, it might just be the opening move in a long chess game for the 2028 election.
So, how can one tiny move, something almost everyone missed, basically lay out a whole 4-year strategy? Well, according to the analysis we're breaking down today, it all starts with a new task force, one that, on the surface, looked like business as usual.
All right, here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with that quiet first move and see how, step by step, it could be setting the board for the entire 2028 race.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The whole thing kicks off with the creation of a new task force on government fraud. I know, sounds like something that happens every day in Washington, right? Just another committee.
But here's the thing. This analysis we're looking at says, nope, this is different. This isn't just another committee that's going to fade into obscurity. The real clue isn't what the task force is supposed to do, but who's running it. JD Vance. And the very specific role he's been handed is what supposedly signals the entire strategy.
And to really get why this matters, the source tells us we have to stop thinking about day-to-day politics and start looking at this like a giant chess game. Every single piece is being put in place with one eye fixed firmly on the 2028 election.
And this is where we get to the heart of it. The whole argument here is that this is all about succession. It's about a long-term strategy to keep the America First movement going by grooming not one, but two potential heirs, and sending them down two completely different paths.
So, who's the first successor in this game? Well, the analysis points right to Marco Rubio, and he's been placed in what you could argue is the most high-risk, high-reward spot on the entire board: foreign policy.
And let me tell you, this is a huge gamble. The source makes it really clear. If things go wrong on the world stage, a war that drags on, costs spiraling out of control, American casualties, that's not just a policy headache. It becomes, and this is a quote from the analysis, an absolute anchor tied directly around Rubio's political future.
But, and this is a big but, the potential payoff is just as massive. If he pulls it off, if this all leads to some kind of global stability and Americans actually feel that peace dividend, well then Rubio's whole image could be transformed. He'd emerge as a tested, proven statesman, a natural heir.
Okay, so you've got Rubio playing this high-stakes game on the world stage, so where does that leave the other major piece on the board, JD Vance? Well, he gets a totally different job, one that's specifically designed to keep him far, far away from that geopolitical storm.
The thinking here, according to this analysis, is that this is 100% calculated. Vance is shielded from all those unpredictable global risks. His battlefield isn't in some far-off country, it's right here at home, inside the federal budget.
And his mission, as the analysis lays it out, is crystal clear. It's not just about finding waste, it's about building a story, a powerful public case. Step 1, find the fraud, and be really loud about it. Step 2, use that to build a narrative of widespread theft. Step 3, make that the center of the whole economic argument. And finally, Step 4, become the face of accountability, the guy who's stopping it.
Now this quote, this is where it gets really interesting. The source basically says this one line is the thesis for the next election. It's a pretty clever move because it shifts the whole debate away from tough stuff like budget cuts or raising taxes and frames it as something everyone can get behind. Let's just stop the people who are stealing from us.
And this quote right here, it's all about signaling that this is for real. The analysis points out that by promising this won't be another czar, those symbolic czar jobs from past administrations that often don't have any real power, the message is pretty simple. We mean business. This isn't just for show. All right, so let's zoom out and look at the whole chessboard again. You've got these two very different players on two completely different missions, but as this analysis argues, they're both pointing toward the exact same goal, the 2028 election.
So you've got this perfect split, right? Two potential successors, each making their case for why they should be in charge, but in totally different ways. You've got the statesman who brought stability to the world, and you've got the crusader who brought accountability back home.
And what this does, what the analysis sees as the real endgame here, is it creates this incredibly powerful political weapon. Think about it. Any opponent who comes along and says, hey, I want to create a new government program, can be hit with a really simple, really tough question. Why should we give you more of our money when you couldn't even stop the last guys from letting it get stolen?
But there's a catch. According to the source,
This whole elaborate strategy, both Rubio's high-wire act and Vance's domestic crusade, it all hinges on one single factor. One thing that nobody can really control.
And what is it? Of course, it's the economy. Because at the end of the day, as the analysis says, it always comes back to how people are feeling about their own wallets. If the economy's humming along, then a story about government theft can be like gasoline on a moving engine. It gets people really fired up. But if everyone's struggling, it's just going to be background noise.
So the big takeaway here is that what looks like a simple task force is actually, according to this view, way more than that. It's a quiet, calculated play to define the entire political battlefield for years to come.
So there you have it. The analysis basically concludes that the game for 2028 has already begun, whether we realized it or not. The pieces are on the board, moving down two very distinct paths. And it leaves us with the ultimate question. Which story will end up being more powerful? The statesman who claims he saved the world, or the crusader who says he saved your wallet?